Hi, this is Kim with www.embody-light.com. And if you have not done so, please hit the subscribe and the like button. So today's video is about angels. I had a viewer question, and so I got a lot more information to give you than just the question. So the question was, what do angels look like, and what are they? If you see them, what are they wearing? So I'll get to that. But so one of the things I'm going to mention is there is a collective of angels that you um, can communicate with um, or interact with, however you want to say that. And so it's all about balance. And so I'm going to start by talking about, and I have notes, so that's why I keep looking down. Um, Souls were created in a certain order, and it has nothing to do with hierarchy per se. It has more to do with function. So first is source or God, whatever you want to call that. Next that was created was archangels and then angels. And so an archangel never incarnates. You hear people talk about, I've heard a lot of people talk about that they're part of Archangel Michael. Well, what that is when you incarnate, often you'll take, well, I don't know if I would say often, but sometimes you take with you parts of energies to help you on your journey. And Archangel Michael is one. And so that's what they're referring to. But the archangel themselves never incarnates. Now, archangels and angels, they're all immortal. Every other type of soul that's created is mortal. So even the demigods, from what I understand, and the cosmic people, they're all mortal. And so, of the angels, there is a specific amount of them, 144,000, it talks about in the Bible, that do actually incarnate. And I've talked about them before. And so, what one of the things I want to touch on, because so many people are all thinking anything spiritual is of love and light, and that's not necessarily true, because for balance, there, as far as the angelic realm goes, there also were the fallen angels, those who, I guess, defied God or thought that they were above him, her, however you want to say that. Um, those were the fallen angels. And so, as far as the hierarchy in the heavens goes, you have your archangels, and then you have the fallen angels, and I don't know if you would consider any of them archangels or not, but there are some of them that were very powerful. Now, it is my understanding that around the beginning of May this year, all of the fallen, we still have negative or malevolent beings, spirit beings on this planet, but the ones that would have been termed the fallen angels were all sent back to source. So it was like, so one of, I can give you this example. It was often referred to, and I hope I have the names right, as the dominion of Michael. Now, like Michael would have a lot of angels working under him on whatever cause he would be working on. And so the um, the angels that are source based or benevolent, they they would be the dominion of Michael's, the dominion of Michael, or whatever angel. We also had, up to this point, before May or so on this planet, we had what was called the legions of Michael, which was the fallen angels. I don't, it's not the same angel as Michael, but it must have been, from what I understand, somebody like of, well, it wouldn't be equal power, but somebody with about that much power, but one that's tethered to the earth in the hell realms. So that's how that would have been. And this Legion of Michael was more or less like a police force for the Anunnaki. You could say it that way. So the thing was, though, with these angels, what humanity didn't understand was that we have dominion over them, even though they're quote unquote angel, fallen angel. We don't answer to them, they answer to us. And so back when all of this was going on, it for strong spiritual beings, they could actually work with the legions, and the legions held no power over them. So they could enact the legions to set certain things up or whatever. I don't know that anybody intentionally did it, but that humanity always had power over them, but they didn't know that. So I almost felt like this was almost like having an evil twin, but these weren't the angels' twins. So the function, I'm just looking at my notes. So now communicating with angels, I'm going to talk about that next. They're at least fifth density, more like sixth density, and you have to be able to communicate with them, you have to have your consciousness in a fifth density or higher. I have heard that only angels or angelic beings, people from the angelic realm, can communicate with them. I don't know if that's true or not. So, what the way the angels function, my understanding is they are the ones that are going to set up the structure, the circumstances for things to happen. I'm going to give you an example, and I know I've talked about this before. There was a young mother that I knew, this was a few years ago, who lived in an apartment building with her two children. And as soon as she moved into this apartment, she knew it was going to be a mistake because this apartment complex used to be for 55 and above. Well, they didn't make it as that. So then they opened it up to families, people of all ages. And they still had some of those 55 and above people who wanted quiet and privacy. And the minute this girl moved in, one of the neighbors told her, "Oh my gosh, you're living above her." She has gotten like 6 other families kicked out because she starts complaining unreasonably. And this is what happened. So they tried to kick her out, and one of those children were in the middle of a school year. So she called me to go for emotional support to go to this meeting with her where they were going to evict her. She didn't know what it was, but she figured that was what it was. Well, we more or less told him no, she wasn't. They were asking her to for her to voluntarily go. And, we told him, no, you're going to have to take other avenues. And she's not going in the middle of a school year. Her lease is not up and she's done nothing wrong. So we leave the meeting, and they're going to try to evict this girl, which they really couldn't. So I told the mother of these children, and this wouldn't have happened because what I do is I align my energy with the angels every single day. Oh, there's my angel wings. Too funny. I tried to put them up to have a little decoration, and it's not working. There we go. Okay, so anyway, so we're outside and we're talking, and I said, okay, so what you got to do, because this girl had, well, in Minnesota we call it Section 8. It's assisted housing where they help you with your rent. But she had this, so I was like, okay, call those people, tell them what happened, and then you got to call a lawyer. We looked up, the housing authority lawyers, whatever. And I said, I know you're really upset, and we can fall apart later, but right now you got to take action and put a stop to this. So I babysat her child that she had at home. Yeah, and she made these phone calls. And the thing was, especially nowadays, when you try to call, especially a government agency, you're not going to get through. You're going to be on hold. And she had been trying to get a hold of these Section 8 people on a different matter for a long time and just was never able to connect with them. Well, when we set these things in motion, and also, a mother's prayer is the strongest prayer there is. She got a hold of both the lawyer and the Section 8 people at just on the first phone call, which is very unusual. And things were set in motion so that she wasn't kicked out, and she wasn't kicked out. So that's how you work with them. They're the ones that make put the people in your path that are going to give you that message, or they're the ones that might give you the little inclination to turn down this road instead of this road, and you avoid an accident. Other times, a more direct communication is with your spirit guide, because this is one of the things I asked of, do the people that are angelic people or have angelic souls that are the 144, did they ever act as a spirit guide in between lifetimes? The answer I got was no, they have a different function. That is the spirit guide's function. And the spirit guide's function, we all know what that is, and that is a human, could have been an ancestor, somebody you were close to, or maybe somebody you don't consciously remember, but maybe knew in other lifetimes, that guides you. And they have a little bit, they're easier to communicate with, and for you to communicate with them and for you to get messages from them because they have the life experience. When I have communicated with angels before, I get very kind of etheric answers like, rest, all is well, child, or something like that. I'm making that part up, but it is something like that. Where a spirit guide, you can get a little bit more distinct information. So when I have communicated with an angel, I have, and they're probably laughing their heads at me, off at me, I don't know. But I've had to tell them, no, wait a minute, you don't understand what it's like to be a human and to have to go through this. Here's what it's like here. And I've had to explain things to them in detail to get the assistance or the answers that I felt I needed. So the other point I want to make on my first sheet in this channeling is that there is actually a circle or a band of angels that surrounds the earth. They're there 24/7 and 365 days a year. And what they do is they're joined in prayer and song, and they're constantly sending the higher vibration to the earth plane. I actually, and you can do this too, align my energies with the circle of angels every single day. And what that does is it just puts you in so that you're in the right place at the right time all of the time. I did this for many, many years, and before when I was working in nursing, and just the weirdest things would happen. Things would just line up, boom, 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 just perfect. So that's a really good thing for people to be able to do. It's a really good support system. And so the next point I wanted to make about the angels, now we've all heard the term the Catholic Church will give the term saints to people. And what that is, I would have to look it up actually. But what I do know of it is those people have to have documentation of performing at least one miracle, and their body does not disintegrate. I don't know that. I'm not sure how they do this. If they just give someone that title, if they've had documented miracles, or if they actually um, like dig the person's body up after an amount of time, or maybe they don't even bury them to see if they decompose, because these saints supposedly do not decompose. I don't know if they go into like a mummified state, without the wrapping and stuff. But what that actually is, and not every person that was termed a saint, my guides tell me either, was actually an angel. So what it is those people that are termed saints, that their bodies do not decompose, they are actually one of the 144,000. That's what that is. But just because a church has clarified somebody as saint doesn't necessarily mean they're one of the 144,000, because we've all heard of some stories of some saints that have done some things that we would not consider very angelic. So, as far as I know, and there may be more, there are 15 or so archangels, and those are just the ones that I am aware of. They each archangel has a specific virtue that they work with. Like Archangel Michael is the protector. Archangel Raphael is the healer. So if somebody was a healer, they'd be working with Raphael energies, like the police department or security, or that any kind of security, would be working with Archangel Michael as well. Metatron is the one who oversees the angels, from what I believe, and he also works with children. Or maybe he oversees the angels that work with children. Um, so, and as I said, I've heard that only an angel can communicate directly with an angel or an archangel. Others can communicate, but the messages they're going to get are going to come in more downloads than direct communication, was the information I was given. Angels are an extension of source, messengers for, and as I said, anyone can talk to. What's important to understand though, because a lot of people that when they get into this, spiritual, finding their spirituality or healing or whatever, they want to connect with their guides and their angels. Well, guides and angels are secondary to source. So you connect with source, and then through source, you can have these assistants of source, which are angels and archangels, assisting you. But we don't pay homage to, I guess you would say, or idolize an angel or a guide. That is, how would you say? That's almost like trying to go over somebody's head, which you can't really do. Um, so how it would work is you'd ask Source for an angelic um, intervention, and you need to be specific on what you need. And so part of the reason for why there is the disconnect in communicating with them with the exception of the 144,000, they don't have the human experience. And I already talked about that. Um, and so I'm just looking at my notes. So the next part I wanted to talk about is in an emergency, an angel, which is a spiritual being, can actually, and I'll go into this in a little more detail, step into the body of a human being for a temporary amount of time for something that human needs to accomplish. We've all heard of stories of maybe a car that's on a child or something, and somebody comes along and lifts the car right off. Um, that's actually usually what that is that's an angel that has temporarily stepped into that being and given them the power to be able to do that task. And then the next part I'm going to talk about is that of the angels that are incarnated on the earth, 144,000, some of them can actually step into the being, the essence of another person to assist them with the outcome. Now, a lot of the 144,000 that do this, I'm going to say most of them because that's what my guides are telling me right now, actually have no memory of doing this. They do it while they're sleeping, they leave their body, and they go perform different tasks. Most of them do not remember because a lot of the things that they're involved with are too traumatic, and their consciousness, their normal human mind could not handle what they've seen and witnessed. Like some of them were going into the deep underground military bases as spirit. Um, so I then had to ask. Oh, one more point. A few people, a few of the 144,000, and I'm just hearing ones that are more proficient at it, that have been maybe doing it for longer, they actually will leave their body when they're meditating and go do little simple tasks. So that's kind of interesting. Now, I had a lot of questions about this, so I'll just share with you what I got. So I asked um, if they have any conscious control over this, or like most of them don't even remember. So no, they don't. And the reason they don't, I already told you, is because it's so traumatic, and because it just they may get a little inkling of it, but they'll just maybe think it was a strange dream they have. So these beings might step into a person's body and direct them to do something that's going to keep them maybe from um, not living anymore, or preventing some kind of tragedy. So the next thing I want to talk about, um, oh, there was one. Okay, so the next point I wanted to talk about, I had to read my notes, is some people, if you're telepathic and communicate telepathically, and you're communicating with a guide or an angel, you're going to hear it telepathically in your own mind. Some people have the ability, if you've given your guides and angels questions, they can read your, I guess they can read your thoughts or your energy, and you will get a response. I have heard other people say that they cannot read your thoughts because that would be an invasion of your free will and your privacy. But if you give them permission, they can. But you want to be careful that you're giving it to a benevolent, loving, someone who means well type guide or angel. This is a genetic thing, and it's also sometimes a like a self-preservation skill, because some people need that because they're working undercover. And so I'm just going to mention, as it being a genetic thing, I'm very telepathic. I always have been. And I have 5 children. Of those 5 children, one of them is very telepathic. It was just everyday things that would happen that were really unusual that didn't happen with the other children. Like one day I was getting her ready for the day, and I'm brushing her hair, and I just happened to think, oh, I wish I would have remembered to grab a ponytail, put her hair up today, and just thought it. Next thing I know, she jumps off my lap, runs into the other room, and comes back with a ponytail twister. And so, just my point is, some people are telepathic. So if you are, you're going to be able to get clearer messages, like, right away, and accurate. If you're not practiced at telepathy, and it's not in your genetic nature, the messages you're going to get, or the response to the questions you're going to get, could possibly be a few days later. It could come in a dream, it could come um, a chance conversation, something you see on TV or hear on the radio. It can come through another person, if you're not open to it and don't utilize your gift of telepathy. I'm just asking my guides right now. Everybody has access to use telepathy. It's just some are more genetically inclined towards it, and some are going to pay attention and utilize it. It's like a skill, any skill that you utilize. If you use it, you get stronger. If you don't use it, it loses strength. So the question, I'm going to pause for a second here. Hang on. Okay, sorry about that. I had to take care of my noisy dog. So, anyway, the question that sparked this little video was somebody wanted to know what an angel looked like, if I've ever seen an angel, and how are they dressed, because we had a video talking about when deceased people come through, how they're often dressed. Well, I'm going to tell you, the only time I've ever actually seen an angel, it was in my third eye. And this angel, I don't know if anybody remembers these, but when my generation, they might still have them. We had these little plastic peel off toys that were called color form. And you could put like different outfits on different dolls, that kind of thing. Well, the angel I had just looked exactly like a color form image with like a dress that was a triangle. It was but you could tell it was an angel. It was very bright and colorful. I've worked with children who are more open to usually this than adults that have told me they've seen angels. And what was described to me was that they had clothes that were shimmery, iridescent. When they'd move, different colors would shine through. I've seen, um, well, this was somebody that I met in a dream that was supposedly my higher self, many years ago. But anyways, I looked like I looked Asian or maybe Middle Eastern. I didn't even know it was me till a psychic I was working with told me that was my higher self. And I had this green, turquoise, and purple dress on. And if it was me, which I believe it was, I just didn't really feel connected. It was such an odd dream. But as this person in this dream would move, the colors would shimmer. It was very interesting. I have also had interactions with other beings, and I actually didn't even know about this till years later, where I was dreaming and it was um, a man and a woman. The woman was younger than the man, and they told me they were my spiritual parents. Well, I now know who they are, but at the time I didn't understand quite what that meant. And now I'm a little embarrassed because I actually asked them to leave because I had something I was doing. Anyways, but they came through, and they're known historically. And so when you see them historically, they're dressed like Middle Eastern, like with the thing on the head. The women are, and but when they came through, the woman, had a sweatshirt and jeans on and tennis shoes. Um, her sweatshirt was purple maroon. I remember that. His was he had a pair of khaki pants on and a dark blue sweatshirt and tennis shoes. And these people are from way back in history. So once I found out who they really were, I asked them, um, after I apologized for kicking them out, I asked them, why were you dressed like that? And sweat, because I had no idea who you were dressed like that. And what they told me was my consciousness at the time. First of all, I wouldn't have believed it. I wouldn't have felt worthy, and I just would have been too freaked out, frankly, and probably dismissed it. So that's very interesting. Now, another point I'm going to make is there is a council of angels that I have at times approached for myself and for clients. And when I talk to them, they are, I was very surprised. They are very matter of a fact. Um, like, I'm just going to give you an example. Like, like if you're a parent and your child's done something wrong again and again and again, you might be kind of a sucker and, oh, well, she's such a good person, or he is. I'm just going to give him another chance. Well, the angels, when I talk to them on behalf of somebody, the angels were not at all like that. Oh, well, they're going to get another, we know she or he is a nice person. We're going to try to work with them some more. They were kind of like very matter of fact. No, this person's had ample opportunities, ample lifetimes. This is the last lifetime they had to redeem themselves, and they are not on track for that. I mean, they were just very matter of fact. I was kind of surprised. So, um, let me see. So, and basically, I had to look at what my notes were. What they were telling me was the individual I was, I guess you could say I was petitioning them for. It's not that this individual doesn't ascend, it's that this individual, if they keep on the same trajectory they're on, they will not ascend in this life timeline. So what that means is that individual, if they didn't turn things around, they were going to have to go through another 26,000 year cycle on another Earth-like planet. Um, or they'll say something like she was warned and she chose to ignore it. Um, and the opposite can also be true. Um, Now, just a little bit about my brother. When I connected with him, after he had passed, by logical human thinking, he wouldn't have been a very elevated soul because in this lifetime, it was just all about alcohol. Because the child abuse from his childhood, both of our childhood abuses were so extreme, but he was never able to function normally in the normal world and really relied heavily on alcohol. Well, that's because he was given alcohol as an infant a lot. And so you would think that he would be, I wouldn't say chastised, but kind of told that, no, you failed, you did this, you did that, you did the other thing. It was the complete opposite with him because they did take everything into consideration in his lifetime, because basically when he came in and everything that happened to him, it was going to be so difficult to undo that damage and have a normal lifetime. So it was almost like there was a free pass for that. But the other reason was he came in for a very noble reason, which was because I was born first, and to try to take some of the pressure off the abuse of me because I was getting close to not being able to make it because the abuse was so extreme. So we don't know what's going to happen when someone crosses over, whether their lifetime was considered to be of light or of darkness, because there are circumstances, and the angels take all of those circumstances into consideration. I feel like this council of angels, and I'm just trying to get this information, is like almost like, well, they are an extension of source and like an assistant to assist those with their lifetime and evaluating their lifetime and seeing what has to happen next. So this is Kim. My website is www.embody-light.com. I do hypnotherapy, psychic readings, I do some medium work if it's for the purpose of healing. I am an energy healer and Reiki master. And so if you'd like to book an appointment, please visit my site. I also am doing, it's going to be every month or every 2 months, singing bowl healing events. I send those out by email. I usually don't announce them on here, but sometimes they do. So just if you're interested in getting on that email list, just send me an email. And I love you all and have a blessed day. And I should be back making videos a little more frequently. Summer gets really busy. We go up north a lot and we've got a garden, so I preserve all the food I can from the garden, and that takes time. So, once again, I love you all. Have a blessed day, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.